This is Katie of Katie's Clinic, my daughter, and Katie's Clinic for Rett syndrome at Oakland Children's is a multidisciplinary clinic where we see families from all over the West Coast. We've had a family come from the Philippines with children with Rett syndrome. Mostly we see families who already have a diagnosis of Rett syndrome and are looking for an expert, someone who knows more about Rett syndrome than they do.
Katie's Clinic for Rett syndrome is near and dear to my heart because of Katie. That is how I started in the clinic. I worked as her infant development specialist before there was a Katie's Clinic, and I got to know baby Katie and Paige and Jesse, her parents. And I saw the passion and the wonder and the worry that they had, and I saw them become empowered and driven to help their little girl, and they opened the clinic. That's how it started. And they asked me and welcomed me and allowed me to learn how to become an expert in Rett syndrome through their little girl and through all these other boys and girls with Rett syndrome who come through these doors now.
Katie's Clinic is different from any other doctor's appointment that you'll go to because it's a whole team approach, and every staff person, volunteer, therapist, physician, they know Rett syndrome and other MECP2 disorders like nobody else that you've seen. And that is huge for a parent that's been struggling to find out what's going wrong with their child and going from doctor to doctor and getting turned away with, we don't know, go here, go there. This is a place where you go, you know what's going on, and they know how to help.
And so our kids are born completely normal, but then when the mutated protein comes into play, things stop working. And that's when we start to lose speech and we start to lose some muscle control. But the literature says that our kids go through a regression, and I find that what I have to educate most people about is that's not a global thing. Most people think that what's going to happen is that over a period of time our kids are going to become just lose every skill. And what happens really is maybe while they're losing the ability to use their hands and play with toys, they're not losing their interest. And who their character is, who their spirit is, continues to grow and develop, and we can help with that. So who Katie is hasn't changed, but her physical ability to do things has changed.
Oh, it's a genetic disorder, and basically her brain is wonderful and her muscles are wonderful, but they just don't connect well. That's how I generally describe it to people, that she got bad wiring.
Well, the most characteristic features of Rett syndrome is that they start out with normal development. I mean, even the boys who only have one X chromosome and their MECP2 gene is wiped out, at birth they look completely normal. Their brain is normally developed. You don't need any MECP2 before birth, which is also a great opportunity, because if we can have a treatment that can be initiated right at birth, many of the functions later on could potentially be ameliorated or even prevented.
Probably one of the biggest things in our clinic that we've learned is communication, and communication is really where it's at. It taught us all that people communicate in many different ways and not just with speech. It's hard to take a history from a child or to evaluate a child who doesn't talk back to you, because all of us are used to talking to children and having answers and having responses. And when we don't get a response, or when we can't figure out what the response is, it's hard to even tell if the child's in pain, if the child's having any problems, if the child's happy, or if the child's bored with us.
So it's really important to pay attention to anything that the child gives you in terms of communication, because they're wanting you to respond, and if you respond to it, they're going to do it again and again and these children are smart. They understand, it's just that they're locked in their bodies, so sometimes they can't always repeat the same action over and over again, so they're going to give you what they can.
There are stem cells in the brain and in the part of the nervous system that are normal because they have the X chromosome with a normal copy active. They're completely normal, and they can divide, and they can move, and they can form connections. Therefore, there is a capability of learning with appropriate training that I think is the best way of really dealing with the problem right now.
It's kind of hard for people outside of Rett syndrome to realize that these girls are smart, and it kind of was hard for me too, even as her mom. When communication device was brought up to me, I thought, I just don't see that happening for us, because how could she possibly work that? It seems so high tech.
One father said, "What if I were duct tape and my hands were tied and my feet were tied and you were taking a history from me? How much could I give you?" That's how our girls feel.
My definition of apraxia is the inability to create or do a motor act in response to a command. So if someone asks a child to do something who has Rett syndrome, they might not be able to do it. And so, but if the child initiates and wants to do something, it's going to happen because they're initiating that motor movement. It's not upon command.
I think the great part about Katie's clinic was that when we came here for the first time, we definitely met with a bunch of doctors and clinicians, and we really felt like it was a group effort, that they came together and saw Levin and met with him individually, but they also shared their opinions with one another, so it just became like this individualized plan specifically for Levin, but with everyone's knowledge compiled, which can only work to his benefit in great ways.
So the biggest gift that Katie's clinic has given to me is that ability to really read a child who's communicating to me without their words. They have so much to say, and I've been able to learn an incredible amount by just watching and listening. They're able to tell me what feels good and what helps them along. They're able to tell me what scares them, and they're able to show me and help me show their family and then other professionals how to get them literally, physically moving in the right direction.
Katie has volumes of ways to communicate with us, even without having words. So her facial expressions, her eye contact, her eyes can look at you with gratitude and thanks for something you did for her. She can look at you with love in her eyes. She can also give you a death stare, like, I need some help. Can you give it to me, please? Can you get it to me right now? And I know how to interpret those looks that she gives. But she also has a way of dancing. She can dance her body when she's just feeling happiness from head to toe. She can just look away and ignore you, give you the cold shoulder if she's not interested in what you're doing at all. She can be angry, she can be frustrated. You know, we all have ways that we can communicate without words. Katie has all of them.
They have a communication difficulty. And initially they would just be put in a wheelchair and nobody worked with them, and they had no ability to actually develop their skills. And now we have communication tools where the girls can communicate. People always knew they understand a lot more than they can tell you. And now there are also ways how they can tell you more. And the same thing with motor abilities. You know, I knew one patient who learned to walk at age 11.
It was really important for us because Joseph and I really didn't know what we were up against and what kind of things we should be doing to help him progress and help him thrive. And so because it's still very unknown out there and there just wasn't a lot for us to read about, it's just, I think for us, really important to find other people that are there and they really get it and they really understand, and we can, you know, share what we're going through together.
What drives me to continue this work with Katie's clinic for Rett syndrome is twofold. I keep waiting, and as I read this research, I want that magic pill to happen, and I watch those parents waiting for that. But I also feel very rewarded when a parent goes home with those concrete ideas. They feel heard, they have a plan of action, and they really believe, and I believe, that their children are going to do better from the information that they've gained. And so if it's better on these small scales or better while we're waiting for that magic pill, either way, I feel like we're working together and we really are making a difference for those little kids.
My hope is, as much as I am really excited about all the research, my hope now is that we figured out how to live with this.
I think that the promise of research is so real right now that to believe in real treatments, to believe in a cure in Katie's lifetime is not something that we're just telling ourselves to make ourselves feel better and to feel that there's hope. It's very real, and I think it will happen.